All right, what are we doing here today? We're talking about a bit about water filters, but primarily I want to talk to you guys about a specific water purification tool that I recently came by. And it's this guy. It's called the H2gO. And what it does in a quick overview, I'll dive into this in depth in a moment, is it takes salt water and converts it to a type of bleach through electrolysis. Now, for me to show exactly how cool this tool is and where it fits in our lineup of water filtration tools and purification tools, I want to show you some other types of filtration and purification tools that are available. And you can see how this fits into your toolkit and how it could act as a primary or a backup water purification. And so I'll bring you to a slide deck. There you go. All right. So there's a few types of filters, and there's things that filter dirt and bacteria. There's even filters that can filter viruses, depending on the type of filter you get. But there's really two things for cleaning water, and those I've categorized into filters and purification. So filters are great in that they're porous. Sometimes you have like a straw filter, kind of like here. You'll see this stuff with like Life Straw, with Platypus, or with like, what's it called? I think they're called, the Sawyer filter right there. So, and your Sawyer filters. This is really just your micro pure straw filter. And these things can clear out bacteria because bacteria is rather large as far as compared to viruses go. And it can carry out dirt, sediment. You have to backwash these guys. And it can keep you relatively safe drinking water in most places in North America, right? Another thing which leans into purification is your pills. These pills are usually some type of bleach, right? Or chlorine or something like that, all pretty similar. And the main ones are like aqua tabs and your Catadine tabs. And you drop these in your water. You're usually treating 1 or 2 pills per liter, and you got to leave it for a little bit. If it's like water in like a regular clear lake, maybe you're leaving it for 30 minutes. But if you're worried about viruses or cryptosporidium, you could be leaving it for a few hours, depending on the temperature and how clear the water is. But this is your purification. Another type of purification, again, that doesn't filter stuff, it doesn't clear the dirt out of the water or any sediment, is like a UV light. So you can use either UV light or this chemical pills like the Catadine to purify your water, kill bacteria, kill virus. The cool thing with a SteriPen compared to like pills is that it's almost instant. You're stirring your water for maybe 30 minutes and it kills all bacteria and kills all virus. You're ready to drink. Of course, the downside is you're not purifying, you're not filtering your water. So there could be crud in there, but at least you won't get sick. Another downside is it's battery powered. So your your UV light can break, then you're in trouble. You could run out of battery. You have a battery leak, and then you're unable to clean your water then. The last one, which I actually don't have on the table today, is a Grail filter. Grail's a little different in that it works through, I think it works through some type of static filter in order to purify water. So it's both a filter, as in it's got porous and carbon in it to absorb flavors and other chemicals, but it's also got some type of electrostatic material to capture certain bacteria and viruses. So it filters and purifies. That's part of the reason these things are so popular. It's just sort of an all-in-one solution. Now, when you're going out on any trip, you really want to make sure you want to know if you need to protect against viruses, because viruses will set you back. These are things like norovirus. If anybody's ever had norovirus, you're pretty much dealing with like a bubbly stomach, liquid poop for a week. Giardia is a bacteria, so most of these things will take care of Giardia, but there's other things you want to be aware of that are viruses. So usually too, when you are headed out, you're dealing with a primary way of cleaning or filtering your water and a secondary. When I go out on most trips, I am using a straw filter because I'm in like Canada and I don't need to worry too much about viruses or purifying my water, so to speak. I'm just worried about dirt and bacteria. And this is actually the filter I use in most places. It's a gravity filter. You fill it up with like, they come in sizes from I think like 1.5 to like 6 liters. I have a 2 liter one, and you fill it with water. It runs through the filter system. The filter straw filter is here, takes out all dirt and bacteria, and you have your clean bag over here. I always bring pills as a backup. For some reason, if I feel I need to purify water, because although I am in North America, for some reason, if I need to take swamp water, or I know it could be contaminated, I'm nervous about it, I would just put a pill in there as well. Like I throw it into this bag if I need to, and leave it for a couple hours and just make sure it's fully purified. But some people might change things up. Some people will, again, these are the same technology. These are straw filters, but you can have this as your primary, and you could have like a steri pen as your backup, right? And so you could filter out all the crud into another bottle, into a cup, and then you could use a steri pen and purify your water. Some people will just have the 2-in-1, like the Grail, where it's porous, it filters out sediment, and it has electrostatic, where it can kill bacteria and virus. And if you need a backup, you could easily take to either the steri pen or any of these things you see here as backup. But of course, we can't ever forget another hard, foolproof way and a very common way and the oldest way of purifying water is by boiling it. I think the recommendation is you want to boil it just so you know it reaches the temperature for about 6 minutes at least, and that should purify your water. Here's a quick diagram just to show you how why certain filters, like a straw filter, does not filter out viruses. It's pretty much because of the size. So you can see here a human hair, which is about 60 micrometers. But dust and pollen, this could represent dirt or anything sediment in the water. It goes down to about 10 micrometers. When you get down to bacteria, which is pretty small, which is about what a straw filter can do, you're at 2.5 micrometers. But viruses are even smaller, which is why most of those straw filters cannot do viruses, and you're typically using chemical or UV light in order to kill viruses. I won't read this verbatim, but then you can see here's just some types of bacteria that a typical filter can get. Things like E. coli, Legionella, Salmonella, great, Cryptosporidium, Giardia. Giardia is one we're all, beaver fever. This is something we're all very familiar with. Now, the things we're a little less familiar with, depending on where you live, are things like viruses in the water. We all actually heard of hepatitis A and E, adenovirus, and norovirus. You do not want to get any of this stuff. It's all very bad. So if you are even 5% concerned about having any of this stuff in your water, you definitely want to have a purification option. All right, so here's your gravity filter. Here's mine. I've had this for years. And if you're ever thinking of getting a gravity filter system, there's a lot out on the market. I'll tell you right now, the platypus one is the best. I've seen ones where they have just a weird bag setup of where the filter is screwed into this part of the bag, or it's just odd. Like the MSR ones are a little strange. This one is just the best one I find, where you just fill up with water. What do I have here? Do I have the 2 liter? I've got the 4 liter. Get the biggest one as well. Because when it's you and maybe you're, whoever you're out there with, it could be you and a family, 4 liters at a time is just perfect. And so you fill this up with water, you can go down to the water source, just scoop it up rather easily. You seal this up, it goes watertight and it's waterproof, so it won't leak on you by accident. You come over to, you go hang it wherever you want to hang it, and you put in your water filter. And I'll zoom in and let me clear the table here. And here's your water filter. So I'll open this up and show you what the water filter looks like. So you have a flow direction of, this is where the dirty water goes in. So you would take the dirty bag and just plug it in here, and water and gravity would pull the water through and filter it, and clean water would come out the other end. And then you take your clean bag and you plug it in right here. And then so water's flowing through this system just like that. Now, what it's actually flowing through are some straws that are microporous. And I'll open this up and show it to you. And let me see how close I can get this for you to zoom in. There you go. And so you can see here, it looks like a bunch of straws that are just folded over. And they're folded over, and if you look in close, it looks like a solid straw, but if you were to zoom in, it's actually microporous. And if I show you the clean side where the water comes out, you can see how all these straws are folded over, and then they're sealed with a resin, and then they're just sort of, a knife is used or a blade is used and cut. So the water goes in the dirty end, all the dirt, sediment, bacteria is caught here, and then clean water is just flowing through this end. And that's how it works. That's why they're so foolproof. You do have to back flush them, these and the Sawyer water filters, but they're just the easiest, sort of most reliable. The only thing you gotta kind of be careful of, again, making sure there's no virus in the water, A, and B, do not let them freeze. It says right here, do not freeze, because when water freezes, it expands and it'll break the straws and you'll get it damaged. And you have to try not to drop as well, because that could break the straws also. They have these, Platypus is great, where they put these little foamy ends on it, so if you drop it, it reduces the risk of it breaking. I think they say this does up to 1,500 liters. I must have done that. I haven't changed it. It's been working fine. Yeah, so that's the gravity filter. That's sort of my go-to, foolproof, easiest way to filter water. And I take it almost everywhere I go. All right, so that's like my main filter, and I think a lot of people do use that type of straw filter. Backup is chemicals. I've rarely used these. They're always just been in my first aid kit, just in case. I bring a bunch, because if your filter breaks and you're into like the beginning of a 1-week trip, you want to have enough water to drink and purify. Even then, I'd still use probably fire to purify my water if I could, and just use these in a pinch when I need to do clean drinking water. And for cooking water and everything, just use unpurified water, because you're boiling it anyways. But these are great. I'm tempted to get into the chemical makeup of these, like the aqua tab for the versus the Catadine are a little different, but there's some videos out there, I'll link in the description below, where there's some great channels that dive really deep into how these chemicals work and how to make sure you purify water well with them. So that's another option for purifying water. And of course, there's the SteriPen. This I use once in a while. This is great, although it's big and it's heavy, because it takes 4 AA batteries, but it's awesome that it's quick, in that you could purify 1 liter of water in that. You just kind of just put it in any bottle. You have to make sure the water hits these 2 little electrodes here. I'll show it to you. There's 2 little metal electrodes, and then you can purify your water. And that's it. And you just stir it around. And you push once for 1 liter. You can even push twice for ½ liter. And I think you could do up to 300 liters on a fresh set of batteries. And the light itself, the UV light, is up to 1,000 liters before they recommend you change the UV light. Although I think that destroys, like, you can't really just change the UV light. You're buying a whole new SteriPen, as far as I understand. I use this the least. I bring it once in a while just for the heck of it. And now for the main piece, our H2gO. So I'm going to bring us back actually to the slide deck, because I have all the details here. So, all right. So this technology is like a really older technology. People use it all the time internationally. The military uses it. I think that's actually primarily how it was developed, is through the military. But this particular device, it's $115. And of course, it purifies against all 3 classes of waterborne pathogens, virus, bacteria, and protozoa. It converts a tiny bit of common salt into a chlorine and hydrogen peroxide disinfectant solution. I'll go a bit into the science behind this. And what's awesome about it is if you have a jerry can, you could purify up to 20 liters at a time. It could, just by 1 little serving of that much water in here, you could purify 20 liters, which is great, especially if you're with a large group of people. That's awesome. 1 battery charge will deliver 240 liters, which is pretty cool. So it it'll work for a long time. Like, so if you're out there for a week or 2 and this is all you've got, that's awesome. The battery device has a lifetime of 120,000 liters, so much longer than your UV light or your straw filter. And it takes, it says 30 to 60 minutes to work, depending on what you're doing with it. Like if you're truly needing to purify some dirty water, yeah, it could take 30 to 60 minutes. So, but other than that, if you're just dealing with some Giardia or whatever, like you're in Algonquin Park or just some pretty clean water, you can leave it for less, for maybe 10 to 15 minutes. Another thing it's got is integrated solar. It's a small dinky solar panel, but hey, if you're out there and you've got no battery backup and you need this thing to work, you could leave it in the sun for a little bit and it should get off a charge. I don't have the exact details of how long you'd have to leave it in the sun for, but it definitely does charge. And it has two little salt chambers at the top. So this has a little bottle that it comes with where you have your brine, but if for any reason you lose that, you could make a new brine with the salt. You can even take the dirty water you're trying to purify and put it in here. Take a pinch of enough salt and put it in there to make the brine salty enough. There's a little indicator light to show you when it's salty enough. And you could turn that into the chlorine, even using the dirty water. It's even got a little flashlight on it. So I'm going to demo this, but first I wanted to kind of show you guys how this thing works. So in here, what's going into the H2gO is pretty much water and salt, right? This is like your salty water, your brine, right? And in the H2gO, there's a cathode and an anode. And when you activate it and turn it on, what happens is it separates the chemicals in the water. So you'll see this thing bubble because it takes the water and it takes the hydrogen, and you actually get hydrogen gas bubbling up, right? Then there's the salt, where it breaks up the salt and the chlorine, and it mixes with whatever is left, like the oxygen, and you get your sodium, what's called sodium hypochlorite bleach. I think I explained that properly, but it gives you a rough idea of how this thing works and how you're creating some bleach and some peroxide. All right, I'm going to switch back and try and demo this thing. Cool. All right, so I've got some water here. Nice. We're going to purify this. I'm going to throw it in here. We'll pretend this is your dirty, crappy, well, nah. We'll just pretend this is just random water. You don't know if it's clean or not. You want to purify it. All right. Here's your H2gO. Again, you can see here's your solar panel. Here's it works on mini USB. And you could hold this for 3 seconds, and there's your flashlight. There you go. It's a pathetic flashlight, but hey, it's better than nothing. Here's the electrolytic chamber. That's where you put your water and your brine. And I don't know if you can see inside. You can see the anode and cathode in there a little bit. And that's where the electrolysis happens and separates the salt from the water and separates the salt from the hydrogen and everything. Well, the water from the hydrogen and the salt compounds. Here's your salt chambers. So there's one going in there, and there's another. So you have two there. A little messy if you open it up. All right, and then here's your button to activate it. And what you do is you can hold it for half a second, and it'll do 1 liter, and then you could keep pressing it, and then it'll go up to 20 liters. Today we're just going to do, and you push 2 seconds to activate, I think. And so here we're just going to do 1 liter today. But first I got to get the brine in. All right, so here's your brine bottle. And the brine bottle is pretty much you fill salt to this line right here. You add in some water, shake it up, and that's your brine bottle. And again, so this makes it easy for you in order to just kind of add enough salt into the water and make sure you have the right amount of brine. But again, if you lose this, you could take whatever water, it doesn't matter, and you can just pinch the salt from the chambers, add it in here, or take some salt packets. Sometimes people have that in their meal kits and their food kits. And once you get enough brine, the machine will tell you. Well, what this device will do, will tell you if it's not enough brine. Then you know you have to add more salt. So cool, let's get this going. So I'll fill this chamber up. There you go. And then I think I hold this just for 5 seconds. And there you go. There's 1 liter. And then you hold it for 2 seconds. 1, 2. It activates. There you go. That's the hydrogen evaporating from that diagram I showed you. You can actually smell it. So you can smell the salt separating and turning into chlorine. That's it. You're good to go. Now I have enough chlorine in here to purify this water. So all I do here is take this and then just pour it in. Just like that. And that same amount could create enough chlorine or bleach or whatever to purify up to 20 liters, which is pretty awesome. That's it. You're golden. You can leave this for like 5 minutes until it's clean. If you're not sure, do what it recommends, which is leaving it up to like 30 to 60 minutes in order to purify the water. Let me give this a taste test. Tastes a little pooly, tastes a little bleachy, just as you expected. Cool. Some other things that come in the kit. Where is this kit? Did I have there? There you go. The kit comes with your H2gO. It comes with these test strips to test the chlorine level. Yeah, so I keep saying bleach, but it's chlorine. And, oh, you know what I can do? I can demo this. So what you want to do is you want to make sure there's some free chlorine left over in this water to show that it's been fully purified. So how do I do this? I just kind of dip this in for 15 seconds. And then what you can do here is you take the strip. It says leave it for 15 seconds, but you get the idea. There you go. So if it's a if it's a really light color, you know it's too low. But here it's pretty up there, right about there, I guess you could say. So you know it's okay, right? There's even okay plus. So you're like, okay, there's enough chlorine left in here. It didn't totally get absorbed by all the amount of virus and bacteria. And so there's some chlorine left over. You're good to go. That's good. If it's really low, that means you didn't put enough chlorine in. It was absorbed by all the bacteria. That means there's some bacteria and viruses left. And so you want to do this again. So that's pretty cool. It has those test strips in there. User guide. And it's got plugs. I don't know, what do you call this? American and European? Yeah, North American and European. So you can charge if you are traveling. It's good to have. All right. So yeah, that about covers it. And so that's like a really handy device. It's my new favorite one. And so how this augments my kit, I'll bring us back to the slide deck, is it could easily replace any of these things of where I don't need to worry as much about batteries running out because it can recharge itself. I don't need to worry much about batteries. I find AA batteries leak a lot more than this one, which has a pretty basic sort of cell phone battery in it. The chemicals are great, but these, you have to do like 1 or 2 pills for a single liter here, and you have to carry a lot of pills to match this, which does up to 240 liters in one battery charge, right? It depends on how much brine you have as well, but this is a little better than that, and it's definitely hell a lot better than boiling. So this is where I'll probably just not bring pills as much, or never bring this UV stick around. I'll just kind of have this as my secondary backup when I have this. If I ever get nervous about wanting to purify something, then yeah, you can have this, right? And that's sort of how it's augmented my kit. That's it. That's just a quick overview of filters, how they work and where you can use them, and this cool little new H2gO filter. So thanks a lot. Take it easy.